Today, the Russian Tu-160 bomber is the world's largest and fastest supersonic bomber, and it even has previously visited the United States. A pair of Russian Tupolev Tu-160 White Swan strategic bombers staged an unannounced deployment to Venezuela in December 2018. South America's social government was strengthened by the presence of nuclear-armed bombers flying over its capital city. After a flight of almost 10,000 kilometers, or 6,200 miles, the bombers made an emergency landing at Mixquia Airport just outside of Caracas. The landing of the aircraft came just a few days after Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro met with Vladimir Putin in Moscow, making him the most serious U.S. adversary in Latin America. Both countries have grown to be close allies, and if that wasn't bad enough, Russia's government has sent bombers halfway around the world. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo took to Twitter shortly after the bombers arrived in 2018 to call out the governments of both Russia and Venezuela for the waste of public expenditures and the suppression of democracy and liberty that their citizens were subjected to. It was not the first time it flew south and arrived in the communist South American state. More than a decade earlier, in September 2008, another pair of Tu-160s had been sent to Venezuela for military training operations. In addition, the bombers are alleged to have flown across neutral waters in the Caribbean and South Atlantic before returning to Russia. Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez had recently visited Russia, where he met with then Russian Federation President Dmitry Medvedev and Vladimir Putin to discuss numerous problems, including defense cooperation. This deployment was the result of that meeting. To avoid flying over NATO territory, the bombers had to follow a course that could only be described as a very long and difficult one. According to an article, the bombers took off from northern Russia and flew over the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans for more than 13 hours non-stop. Russia's Tu-160 bombers also flew over neutral waters to visit a Russian socialist ally. As a result of the White Swan missions, Russia may have seen this as an opportunity to showcase the White Swan's long-range capability. Black or white? The Tu-160 White Swan, NATO reporting name Blackjack, is a Soviet-era legacy aircraft that is the fastest, largest, and heaviest bomber ever produced. It appears to be comparable to the American Rockwell B-1 Lancer, which inspired the construction of the Soviet-designed aircraft. It was designed to destroy targets in remote geographic areas and far in the rear of continental theaters of operations. While the B-1 is a smaller bomber in the traditional sense, flying close to the targets to deploy its bomb load, the Tu-160 can function as a standoff weapons platform, with missiles launched from bomb bay doors. Following that, the White Swan might also reach speeds of Mach 2 or higher. The Tu-160 was also the sole Soviet-designed bomber without defensive weaponry, and as a result, fighter aircraft like the MiG-31 commonly accompanied it on patrol missions. In the fall of 2020, two Tu-160 planes with two crews set a record for the longest non-stop flight. Pichela and Volkovitsky flew their Tu-160 bombers out of Engels Air Force Base near Saratov, where they landed safely and returned to their base. The base, which serves as the only operational station for Tu-160 aircraft, is named after communist philosopher Frederick Engels. The aircraft traveled across the neutral waters of the Central Arctic and Pacific Oceans, as well as the Kara, Laptev, East Siberia, Chukchi, and Barents Seas. Throughout their 25-hour flight, 6 IL-78 tankers refueled each aircraft 3 times in the air. That record flight makes the 13-hour flight to South America seem nearly trivial, especially since there was a beach waiting for the pilots when they arrived. The Tupolev Tu-160 Blackjack is Russia's answer to the B-1 Lancer. The jet's initial flight took place in 1987 and was the Soviet Union's final strategic bomber. The Rockwell B-1B Lancer is just a few aircraft capable of traveling at speeds greater than Mach 1, a very rare strategic bomber in the military world where most planes are now used for several purposes with few dedicated bombers. However, powerful strategic bombers like the B-1B and the B-52 are not exclusively operated by the United States military. The Russians also fly strategic bombers. The Tu-95 Bear, an old turboprop that has undergone a number of improvements, is one of them. After that, we get to the Tupolev Tu-160 Blackjack. The Tu-160 Blackjack is one of Russia's most eye-catching planes. First flown in 1987, it was the last Soviet Union-designated strategic bomber. In modern Russia, the aircraft is still in use and will continue to be so for many years to come. There are still some remaining supersonic bombers in service around the world, and they've all been updated with the latest technology. Furthermore, it bears a resemblance to the original B-1A Lancer Mach 2 aircraft because it was designed in response to it. The development and origins of the Blackjack. The Blackjack project began in 1967 when a competition for a supersonic strategic bomber was launched. In direct answer to the American B-1 project, the Soviet Union desired a supersonic swing-wing aircraft with a top speed of Mach 2.3. Myasishchev and Sukhoi were competitors, but Tupolev won the program. The B-1A project was quickly scrapped, but the Soviet Union went on with their new Tu-160, which flew for the first time on December 18, 1981, with manufacturing beginning in 1984. In 1987, the Soviet Union sent the bomber into service for the first time. Four Samara NK-321 afterburning turbofan engines power the plane with a range of 7,600 kilometers. An astonishing 1,380 miles per hour can be reached when the Blackjack reaches Mach 2.05. Remember that the B-1 project was reduced to an airplane that could fly at a maximum speed of a little over Mach 1. The Tu-160 made its public debut in 1989, and 44 world speed records were set that year and the next year by this aircraft. Unfortunately, only 35 aircraft had been produced when Boris Yeltsin suspended production in January of 1992. The Ukrainian Army and the Tu-160 upgrade. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine briefly used 19 of these planes, but many of them were destroyed as part of the Nunn-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction Agreement. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the new Russia purchased 8 of the aircraft and returned them to Engels Air Base. The number of Tu-160s in service has fluctuated over the past few years, with a report in August 2011 stating that only 4 were flight-ready. However, at least 16 planes will be in operation in 2022. Since the beginning of the new millennium, Russia has improved its aircraft. The Russian Air Force received its first modified aircraft in 2014. The first of 10 new serially constructed aircraft took to the skies in January 2022. Russia hopes to develop 50 new aircraft and modify 16 already in service, which may be the entirety of the country's air force. The plane has been used in combat numerous times throughout the Syrian civil war, most notably for airstrikes and the deployment of cruise missiles. Russia has also utilized Tu-160 bombers in the present conflict in Ukraine. The total number of airspace violations. The Tu-160 has violated the airspace of numerous countries in the last few decades. 2 Tu-160s were caught by British and Norwegian fighters in international airspace near Britain and Finland in September 2007, while Danish F-16s stopped 2 Tu-160s in December of that year. Despite the fact that its actual number in service is unknown, the Blackjack remains one of Russia's most notable operational aircraft. The future of Tu-160. The Tu-160 has a bright future ahead of it. The aircraft is the largest and heaviest Mach 2 Plus supersonic combat aircraft ever built, and it is only slightly shorter than the American XB-70 Valkyrie. It is the largest and heaviest combat aircraft, the fastest bomber, and the largest and heaviest swing-wing aircraft ever flown as of 2022. With plans for at least 50 additional Tu-160s, it's apparent that the Tu-160 will continue to serve in Russia's military for many years to come, when many other air forces aren't even using strategic bombers. The Tu-160 is the last survivor of a vanishing breed. What do you guys think about the Tupolev Tu-160 Blackjack? Tell us in the comments below. That's all for today. If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icons for any new updates. See you in the next one.